Hi everybody, my name is Angela Bizek. My husband Jim and I own and operate the Fond du Lac Studio of Music located in East Central Wisconsin. Today we're talking about the top 4 reasons to choose a face-to-face piano teacher. Number 4, time, dedication, and commitment. Learning to play a musical instrument takes time, it takes dedication, and it takes commitment. When you jump online and you see claims that read, learn to play the guitar in 10 hours, how to play piano in as little as 21 days, learn to play the drums with a 7-minute free video. These are actual ads that are on the internet right now, and I'm here to tell you those are lies. Those remind me of those get-rich-quick schemes, right? Like how to make $1 million in an hour, how to be a perfect person in 3 days, that kind of thing. These things are not real. And my flaming truth of evidence is that if this were true, all of us would be rich and all of us would be fabulous musicians, but we're not. The truth is, it's rare to find a truly polished musician. So if you really want to accomplish something, you have to find someone who's honest and reputable and who's already done it, and then ask them how. And I put $100 on the line to say that that person is not going to tell you it happened overnight. Great musicians, naturally talented or not, put in their time. They studied, they practiced, they attended their lessons. They had good days and bad days just like the rest of us. There are simply no shortcuts. Being a great musician is a lifetime commitment. It truly becomes a part of who you are. Number 3, am I doing this right? The bottom line is, students simply do not know when they're doing something wrong. I cannot express this enough. This isn't just the 4 and 5-year-old kids, this is the adults too. People who are in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, people who are doctors, people who are businessmen, people who are DJs, people who are factory workers. I've worked with them and I've taught them all, and they simply do not know, and there are no exceptions to this rule. Now, this isn't something to be scared of, okay? This is the reason why we get a music teacher in the first place. Every student struggles with something along the way, whether it be counting, hand position, naming the notes, etc. And until a teacher is there and points it out to them, they do not know that they're playing it incorrectly. So private lessons offer that opportunity to correct the problem on the spot and move forward. Even more difficult to teach without a face-to-face teacher is expression. For example, students learn something called articulations, which is the way a note is played. Sometimes we play short, sometimes we play long, sometimes we play smooth, sometimes we play separated. Without a teacher there right in front of you, it's very difficult to know if you're properly articulating the note. A lot of times my beginning students, after a week of practicing, will play a new concept good, but not great. Now, I don't browbeat it to death, right? I don't expect a beginning pianist to play staccato like my advanced classically trained musicians. I know there's an element of growth there, of development, so you leave room for that in your lessons. You return to that concept later. You make a note of it as their teacher, what particular areas they're struggling with, so you can continue, to help them progress. Now, with an online teacher, you lose this. An online teacher is going to present a concept once and then move on. They can't assess you, they can't go back to what you personally are struggling with, and truthfully, you probably don't know the difference anyway. So the problem is you never learn to play a true staccato, say, which is a crisp, detached note, because essentially you're having a student-teacher relationship with a computer. Now, if you don't care, it doesn't matter, right? But if you do care and you want to become a true musician, that face-to-face teacher interaction is going to be necessary. And the longer you play around on your own without their guidance, the more issues they will have to correct and the more frustrating it can be for you as the student coming on. Now, I know this may all sound a little depressing, especially if you've had your heart set on online learning, but the truth is, I think this is one of the most beautiful things about the arts and about music. There are some things that technology just cannot reach. Learning to read music requires human interaction. It invites a person into your life to guide you, to teach you, to give of themselves. And I think that relationship that is developed between a music teacher and a music student is incredibly special. That person is entrusted to help bring out not only the technical elements of the student, but a piece of their soul as well. There are some things that are better off left in their purest form, and I believe that music is one of them. Number 2, different learning styles. I think the educational system we see in our schools today is really starting to recognize and hone in on different learning styles. Kids and adults too, for that matter, all learn differently. Some of us are visual learners, some of us are verbal learners, some of us are logical learners, some of us are oral learners, and really that list goes on and on. Beyond the list of different learning styles itself, a lot of students are also dealing with emotional or behavioral or intellectual disabilities or issues. The problem with online learning is that it doesn't account for this. You're given a video which presents the concept one way and one way only. Either you get it or you don't. And more importantly, whether you get it or you don't, the video still moves on. A face-to-face lesson will be able to deal with this. A lot of times my students will go home and work on something during the week and come back and say, I really worked on this, I really tried, but I'm stuck and I just can't seem to get that concept that you were demonstrating to me. So me as a teacher, I know my students learn differently, and so I've grown accustomed to presenting one concept in several ways until the student can fully grasp what I'm teaching. Sometimes this process takes time. Sometimes it's very quick. Sometimes we have to do it several times or leave it and return to it later, but this is what a face-to-face teacher is able to do. They can assess the student on the spot. They can determine the learning style. They can use their instincts to guide their teaching. Unfortunately, these are just things, that you will not be able to get from an online learning experience. Number 1, coaches and cheerleaders. Every single person who studies music at some point will run into a time where they feel like, I just can't do this, right? I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can't see myself ever being able to accomplish my ultimate goal of playing, say, the full rendition of Beethoven's Für Elise. So this is a place where a face-to-face teacher is invaluable in a way that learning online could never do. To put it simply, students need a coach. They need a cheerleader. I compare it to playing softball without a coach or attempting a weightlifting session without a physical trainer. You need that person there to guide you, to help you, to tell you, yes, you can do it. Don't give up. I think one of the biggest issues that people come across is they'll jump online and see YouTube videos of concert pianists or child prodigies, and they come into lessons and they say, I'm gonna do that. And they're super excited and they're super motivated on their first lesson and their second lesson and maybe still on their 20th lesson. But after a year or two, they start to recognize it's a process. They aren't the exception, and it takes time and it takes hard work. And if they're at the point where they still want to keep going, but I'm sensing that frustration, I'll say to them at that point, I think we need to start by making smaller goals, right? So we identify someone a little bit better than them, and we make a goal of becoming that musician. Once we become that musician, then we make another goal, and we do this in baby steps, right? Little pieces, little goals, little accomplishments, but we never allow the dream of what we ultimately want to become to escape from our mind. One of the best personal examples I have of this is when I was a junior in college. So at this point, I had been studying the piano already for 13 years, I think, and I really desperately wanted to play this Chopin piece called Fantasy Impromptu before I graduated. Now, this is not an easy song, and I had given up on easier songs than this prior to that. Could I handle the notes and the dynamics and the pedaling and everything like that? Yes, but the piece challenged me rhythmically in a way I had never been before. It had this moving right hand 7 against left hand 6, seemingly impossible rhythm to accomplish. And it wasn't just like for a measure or two, okay? This flowed throughout the entire A section, and then the B section came in, and then it returned again at the end of the song. And I asked my teacher at the time, do you think I can do this? And she said yes. And so I got started with it and I practiced like crazy, honestly, more than I had ever practiced anything before. I was so excited to even have the opportunity to attempt it. And I just felt like all my hard work in music had led me to the moment of playing this song. So I was about 6 weeks into the semester and I just really had a breakdown and basically came to the point where I accepted that I wasn't going to be able to do it. There was just no way. And I was at this point where I just said to myself, there are just some things I cannot do. And I had this big dramatic teenage speech prepared for my teacher about the acceptance of my failure. And I got to my lessons and she made me play it for her anyway, which was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do because, to be honest, at that point I felt completely incompetent. And I'm playing this song and I'm crying my eyes out, and she convinces me to give it one more month. And she told me how proud she was of me, you know, and the work that I put in so far. And she told me over and over and over again, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. To make a long story short, I did. I did it. I learned the piece and I played it well, very well. At my piano concert that semester, I had a friend from high school that was visiting. She came up to hear me play that weekend. She was a person who had heard me play from little on and definitely was not a person who would give me anything but honesty. You know, I tended to hang out with the type A, you know, take over the world, firstborn type of personalities. And I met up with her after the concert, and she was just blown away by how I played. And interestingly enough, that isn't even the thing that really stood out to me, but she said something to me along the lines of, I just could feel it. I just could really feel it. And she was touching her heart when she said it, you know, and it came into my awareness that she understood the piece beyond the note. I was able to express myself in a way through music that had touched someone else's soul. And after the dramaticism of that semester, it was the best compliment I could have ever received. The point of me sharing this story with you is simply this. I could not have played that piece without my teacher. I know I couldn't have. I would have never accomplished my ultimate goal without her. I would have never reached my true potential. She was a person who was honest, gave it to me straight, was hard on me when I needed it, but also loved me through my struggles and saw something in me that I could not yet see in myself. That is what the human interaction of a teacher does for a student. This is why it's worth your money. This is why it's worth the investment of your time. A great teacher is priceless, and I can guarantee you, if you find one, you will never regret the decision to become a great musician. Those are the top 4 reasons to choose a face-to-face piano teacher. If this video helped you out today, please give us a thumbs up. Sound off below. Let our musical community know in the comments section about your own personal experience with private music teachers. What have you learned? How have they challenged you? In what ways have they inspired you to grow? I really want people who have never been involved in the arts to understand the power of a music teacher. So please share those personal experiences and help others to know what a gift the arts can be to our lives. Be sure you're subscribed to our channel for all things music. Ring the bell to be notified of all upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.